sa balita. Uwas sa balita. Musika ug kalingawan. Mas tulong pinalakas. Radyo.
This is CNN Philippines.
For the first time since May of last year, we are seeing less people who are testing positive for COVID-19. The Department of Health says based on lab results on November 12, only
This
less than
is
4% of health says based on lab results on November 12 for the coronavirus. Less than 4% of health because the World Health Organization recommends that the positivity rate remain below 5% for at least 2 weeks before governments can consider reopening. But scientists are also reporting a new mutation of the very contagious Delta variant. It's called Delta Plus, which is now present in many countries. Most cases have been found in the United Kingdom. And again, it's raising a lot of questions, including how effective our vaccines are against it. What do we know about Delta Plus? And what does this mean for us here in the country? I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and you're watching Med Talk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We're here to build a healthier future for you. We are seeing hopeful signs of more and more people testing negative for COVID-19. But we are again up against a new mutation of the Delta variant, which is claimed to be more transmissible. To help us with today's discussion, let's welcome Dr. John Wong. He's an epidemiologist and the Senior Technical Advisor of Epimetrics. Also with us is Dr. Mark Edsel Ayes. He's the head of Clinical Genomics Laboratory at the Philippine Genome Center. Let's start with some good news. Dr. John, let's explain to our viewers these hopeful numbers. So gumaganda ang situation natin. Less people are testing positive for COVID-19. What could be mainly attributed to this? Are Filipinos doing the right thing in combating the virus? Or is this a natural progression of any pandemic?
One is transmission rate is going down, meaning people are masking better. No. Second is contact rates are also down. No, meaning people are also observing social distancing. And then third, that testing capacity has caught up. No, with the number of cases, so that we're able to catch those who are infectious and isolate and quarantine them immediately. You have to continue these helpful behaviors. No. Masking, early testing when symptomatic, but most important of all, those who have not been vaccinated should try to get vaccinated.
But as we know, mutations of viruses are very common. And we are now seeing the Delta Plus or AY.4.2, which looks very similar to the original Delta variant. Dr. Edsel, let's explain how these mutations happen and how are the two different, this Delta Plus and the Delta variant?
Mutations are actually spontaneous. They occur as a result of evolution. You can think of it as a ways of the virus to adapt, no? And as we are vaccinating, as we are increasing our exposure, because it's already been nearly 2 years now since the virus has been introduced into the human population, naturally viruses like this will mutate in order to adapt and maintain its hold on us, basically. Now, the Delta Plus is called such because it is derived from the original Delta. You can think of it as parang anak niya, no? So it is basically an evolution from that original Delta. And the reason why it is of concern is that it has some mutations in its spike protein, which is the one that interacts and is also with our body cells, and it's also the target of our vaccines, has changed in such a way that it could potentially become more infectious and possibly also evade our immune systems.
Dr. Edsel, when it comes to this even newer variant coming up, the Omicron variant, how does this compare with Delta Plus? Mas grabe ba tong si Omicron?
The Omicron variant that you're mentioning, or the B11529, no, This was reported early on. So it raised concerns because it has a lot of mutations that are quite concerning in what I mentioned, the spike protein. But I would also like to make it clear that there have only been several cases. And in South Africa, they noted a large number that, in proportion to the sampling that they're doing. So there are only a very few number of cases. So they've only raised the flag for now. It doesn't mean that it's already spreading at madaming.
Is it too early to have face-to-face gatherings with loved ones and relatives, which I know a lot of Filipinos are so eager to have already?
One, you should be vaccinated. Second, meet in a well-ventilated area, open space if possible. And third, mask up. Under these conditions, it would be safe to meet, but otherwise, you'll be at risk of getting infection if any one of these conditions is absent.
But with the little information, or with the current information that we know with these two variants, does it seem like that the current vaccines may have a hard time in trying to hold these new variants back?
And it's too early to say because the number of cases aren't that sufficient enough to make a very strong recommendation. But in line with our understanding of the immunity that can be provided with the existing vaccines and the updates on the boosters, we believe that at the very least, it will provide protection, at least in the form of reducing severe and also hospitalization, which is something that you also have to consider.
Now, most Delta Plus infections have been seen in people who are unvaccinated, but studies also show that the variant has increased transmissibility even among the vaccinated people. Dr. Mark, why does this happen? Do we know why breakthrough infections occur more?
It's that the mutations in the spike protein of the Delta Plus are such that it is exquisitely efficient. Now, when we say exquisitely efficient, it means that it doesn't need as many viral particles in order to cause an infection. What I'm trying to say is it's not a problem of the vaccine that they are getting infected despite the fact that they are vaccinated, but because of the fact that the virus is mutating to such a way that it is more efficient at causing infections.
Dr. John, we've been emphasizing the importance for people to get vaccinated, and early on, the amount of vaccines was an issue. Is that still the problem now?
Herd immunity may no longer be possible because of the high transmissibility of Delta, and also we have less than perfect vaccine efficacy. So our target should be 100% vaccination. What are the factors that affect full vaccination? First, availability of the supplies. So right now we probably have enough supply for about 55% or 60% of the population. So if more people want to be vaccinated, we will not have enough. Second, accessibility. Can people get to the vaccination sites? Our vaccination rate for the elderly is only at 60%. So are these 40% having mobility issues? So we need to address that.
Now, scientists say that vaccines do a lot more than just trigger the production of neutralizing antibodies. Does this mean that booster shots add an extra layer of protection? More on this when we return. We're your connection to healthcare, and you're watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines.
Make no mistake, we have a long way to go. This virus will be with us for a long time. This virus remains extremely dangerous. That means epidemics can easily reignite.
This war is far from over.
Ang hulga sa COVID-19, nagpabilin o magpabilin.
One of the greatest dangers we face now is complacency. The world will not and cannot go back to the way things were. There must be a new normal, a world that's healthier, safer, and better prepared.
Jensen, tuloy ang laban kontra COVID-19.
Pilit ta magkumpiyansa. We will not let our guards down. Tanang sakripisyo na i-reward. Ang atong reward, ang mabuhi ug makauban ng atong pamilya ug mga mahal sa kinabuhi. Tabangay ta, kaya nato ni. Protektahan nato ang atong pamilya, protektahan ang atong mga health workers.
Pahimangno, gikan sa lokal nga panggamhanan sa Dakbayan sa General Santos.
Para sa mga gusto riha mukaon og lamian nga pagkaon, of course tangita silang dapit kung asa ang lami nga barbecue, lami pod ang kalingawan matag adlaw. Dinhi na tayo ng pangitaglain ha, Little Boss Hungry's Kitchen Grill and Resto Bar. Kilid lang ni sa sibianan sa Radio Philippines Network ang Little Boss Hungry's Kitchen Grill and Resto Bar.
This is CNN Philippines.
The Health Department recently approved the provision of booster shots. But many ask who can avail of these and how quickly? And what are the basic guidelines for getting one? I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez and you're watching MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We're together in health. Additional doses of the COVID-19 vaccine will soon be available to Filipinos before the end of 2021. A booster shot is an additional dose after the protection provided by the original one decreases over time. And usually a booster is given after the immunity from the initial dose starts to wane. Dr. John, who can get these booster shots? Who are eligible for these? And how long after should they be getting one after their last dose?
First is health workers, no? Because they're essential to protect the rest of the population. No? We don't want them to even get an infection. No? The second group are people whose immunity has waned, no? Months after their primary series and who need additional protection, no? Because if they get hospitalized, no, it's usually more severe. No? So these are the elderly, people with comorbidities, no? And also people who are immunocompromised. No?
Could you explain to our viewers the importance of a booster shot and should they think of their original vaccine being non-effective? Should they get another set of vaccine of a different brand maybe?
So there's also this understanding that it looks like the primary series might have been more effective if there was an additional dose, but that information was not available at the time. So now that we've had about a year of experience, this is where we are coming in to adjust the dosing schedule. Now, for those who have already had the primary series, the booster shot is a single dose that comes thereafter, no? And based on the studies that have been done on booster shots, at least for the Philippines, no, the recommendation states that the preferred dose is Pfizer, regardless of your primary series, followed thereafter by homologous. Ibig sabihin nun, kung ano man yung initial dose primary series ninyo, yan din yung matatanggap nyo na booster shot. And this is based mostly on the safety profiles, of course, no, to minimize the side effects.
After getting the primary series, they're thinking of getting another brand, another type, an mRNA type, but with the two shots. Are there any risks to these? What can you advise to those who are contemplating this type of procedure?
If you're looking at Pfizer or mRNA vaccines as a booster shot, no, they can increase your protection from primary infection by already above 90%. So a single dose is already effective. So therefore, at least for now, no, because the studies have yet to show if two-dose or a full schedule as booster compared to single booster is more effective. We don't know that yet because the time frame, hindi pa nakaabot tayo ng time to make that conclusion.
Now let's go over some of the details of recommendations made to the Health Department by the independent panel known as the Health Technology Assessment Council, or HTAC. Now the recommendation of the Health Technology Assessment Council includes giving booster shots for healthcare workers and senior citizens 6 months after they complete their single or two-dose COVID-19 vaccine, while immunocompromised patients are recommended to get additional shots at least 28 days after they complete their vaccination. There are 4 types of COVID-19 vaccines available here in the Philippines today, and you can see them on your screen. There's the whole virus vaccine, such as Sinovac and Sinopharm. Then there are the RNA or mRNA vaccines, which examples are the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna. Third is the non-replicating viral vector, such as the AstraZeneca and Sputnik, and the protein subunit, such as Novavax. Is choosing one or the other still important, or is it still whatever is available in front of you is okay to get?
When you boost it, no, it's best to choose the most effective vaccine. Second, what is the supply availability, in your region or in your LGU. And third, we've also seen that if we mix vaccine brands, sometimes that confers a greater immunity, because it generates a broader immune response. So those are the reasons why mixing and matching is also a good idea.
Are there any risks to mixing and matching different types of vaccines, different boosters for that matter? What can you advise those who are wary about their own physical health?
It has been generally seen to be safe. There isn't an increased risk of side effects in with either group, and it has conferred. It has been able to provide the immunity that is needed from those mixed shots.
So, Dr. John, really quick, now that the rollout for the pediatric age group, the 12 to 17 age group is underway, do we expect that the kids will need a booster shot then around 6 months down the road?
We need to observe the effect of the primary series on children. The clinical trials on children have just been concluded. There hasn't been sufficient follow-up period to see whether they will also experience the same amount of weaning.
What role do the unvaccinated play in the whole picture on how different variants come into play, Dr. John?
They increase transmissibility. So we still have a large pool of uninfected individuals, unvaccinated and uninfected. So variants will increase the rate at which these people become infected. What vaccines do is, if you think of the pool of susceptibles as a bathtub, what vaccination does, it drains the bathtub, so it reduces the number of susceptibles. So it also decreases your risk of getting these people infected. So that's the importance of getting as many people as possible vaccinated, so that they can develop immunity.
Now, it's been almost 2 years since the pandemic has started. When we return, we'll talk about the new treatments for COVID-19. Your health is our mission. This is MedTalk Health Talk on CNN Philippines.
Malipayong Pasko kaninyo tanan, angay natong iselebrar ang adlawang natawhan sa atong Hesukristo tungod mauni ang atong paglaom sa atong kaluwasan. We have overcome this pandemic and have challenges. Tungod sa grasya sa Ginoo, poured out His blessings just as He blessed us by sending His Son for our salvation. Christmas reminds us that in God's greatest love came our salvation. He loved us so much that He sent His Son to die for our sins so that we may inherit eternal life. Kinadasig ko kamo, ipadayon lang kita sa atong paglaom o pagtuo sa atong buhing Dios. Let us be humble and let us please the Lord, and He will raise us up. As we celebrate the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ with our loved ones, I encourage you to keep in mind our health protocols for everyone's safety. This is one way to help our frontliners relax ng konti dahil talagang bugbog na bugbog ang mga doctors, nurses, health workers, lahat ng mga nag-handle ng mga COVID patients. Let's just be careful and i-maintain po natin ang atong mga protocols aron makahatag po tag gamay nga pahuway sa atong mga frontliners. Kauban ang tibuok panggamhanan sa probinsya sa Sarangani, Senator Manny Pacquiao o Congressman Ruel Pacquiao, Vice Governor Elmer de Peralta, mga board members, mga mayors, lakip na ang mga kapitans, kagawads, sitio leaders. Kini si Governor Steve Chombiansolon nga nagatamyaw og Merry Christmas and a prosperous New Year to one and all. God bless all of you. Sulong Sarangani.
Jensen City, Vax and Win at KCC and Veranda. 2 ways to join. Dalhin ang iyong Vax card and bonus card para sa free raffle entry araw-araw. Or get more entries when you shop and dine sa KCC at Veranda. More chances to win. More shops, more brands. Maraming pagpipilian. 5 million in shopping money. Jensen City, Vax and Win at KCC and Veranda.
This is CNN Philippines.
I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and this is Med Talk Health Talk, your partner in healthcare. HIV is a lifelong condition, but as mentioned, having HIV is not a death sentence. Now, understanding how it's transmitted and how to prevent it can make a huge difference. Dr. Carl, let's re-emphasize the ways in which HIV is transmitted. And could you clarify, can HIV be contracted if bodily fluids is ingested?
It's a very small risk, but the risk is not zero. No, so when you look at the textbooks, really the most important mode of transmission is sexual intercourse. So the infected fluid are the semen, the vaginal secretions. No, yun yung number one talaga na nakaka-transmit, and blood, of course.
Okay.
Blood is maybe the ultimate mode of transmission.
Okay.
But sometimes, so if for example the oral mucosa gets exposed to a heavily infected, say, seminal fluid or vaginal fluid, it's theoretically possible for you to get HIV that way. Although, like I said, it's a much lower risk than penetrative intercourse.
What can someone do aside from being aware on how HIV is transmitted? What can someone do who is HIV positive? What can you suggest how they live a very fruitful and full life?
Well, there are general principles, no, for that I tell patients whenever they are whenever I first start treatment, no. Essentially, kailangan healthy lifestyle, especially if we diagnose them in the AIDS level of the illness, no. With weak immune systems, they can't really be exposed to a lot of possible infection risk. So they need to take good care of themselves, not expose themselves to too many people from whom they can get opportunistic infections. No, but as the treatment progresses and they start to get better, then those restrictions fall away, and they are able to more or less resume their normal activities.
Napaka-importante na information yon. Dr. Vin, I'd like to ask, if someone is HIV positive, what is your advice if they would like to have a relationship who is HIV negative?
So a person living with HIV na partner ng isang negative is called a serodiscordant couple. So for those kinds of clients, so number one, we encourage the client living with HIV to make sure that he or she takes his or her medication daily to make sure that he becomes virally suppressed. For the partner, we offer different forms of combination prevention for them. So number one is what we call the condoms and lubricants, because, it's a protective barrier. But for clients who are not comfortable using condoms and lubricants, we have an innovation called pre-exposure prophylaxis. It's a pill that you take every day. It's a preventive pill. It's a prophylaxis. You need to take it if you're sexually active. You need to take it every day to prevent the risk for acquiring HIV, but it does not prevent the risk of acquiring other STIs, just HIV.
Thank you, infectious disease specialist Dr. Carl Henson and Love Yourself PH founder Dr. Ronvin Pagtacan for sharing with us your insights on this topic. Marami pong salamat sa inyo. I'm Dr. Freddy Gomez, and thank you for watching Med Talk Health Talk on CNN Philippines. We'll see you again next time. Stay safe.